Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear us. Welcome to the second Zero Debris webinar, Unlock Funding for Zero Debris Innovation and Commercialization. My name is Sacha Bressolet, and I will be your organizer and host for today's session. This webinar is part of a broader effort to support the Zero Debris community and wider space community in accelerating innovation and commercialization toward achieving zero debris targets by 2030. Before we begin, just a quick note on logistics. Firstly, today's session is being recorded. And secondly, you're warmly encouraged to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A box. These will be addressed during the dedicated Q&A segment at the end. Now, to officially open our session, I'm pleased to hand over to Quentin Verspieren, Space Safety Program Coordination Lead at ESA, the European Space Agency.
Thank you very much, Sacha, for organizing all this event. Thank you to all those who are joining us today. I think we have quite an impressive turnout, which is quite commensurate to the success of the Zero Debris community. So it's my pleasure to officially welcome you all to this second webinar of what I hope will be a long and interesting series. So as Sacha introduced, my name is Quentin Verspieren. I'm in charge of the coordination of the space safety program at ESA. Those of you who were involved in the initial drafting of the Zero Debris Charter may remember that along with some of the colleagues on that call, I moderated this drafting process in 2023. And in fact, it's almost exactly 1 year since we had the first signatures of the Zero Debris Charter. That happened in Brussels in May 2024 with, I think at the time was 12 countries being the first signatories, soon followed in early June by around 40 private, non-profit and academic organizations that signed in the first batch in Berlin. And we wouldn't have expected that after only 1 year, we would have now 170 plus signatories of the Zero Debris Charter from 33 different countries, and that among this slightly more than 170 signatories, there are 20 governments that have committed to implementing zero debris principles and targets into their national activities. So this process, this charter that started with around 40 co-drafters has now more than quadrupled its number of supporters and signatories. So I think it's a very strong demonstration of the global priority that is space debris mitigation and remediation, and the fact that these ideals that were initially developed with 40 participants are actually relevant and symbolize the willingness of the space community as a whole worldwide. So the objective of today's webinar is to provide you with detailed information on the kind of support, funding support, that is available, especially in Europe, to make sure that your great motivation, your great ideas are becoming a reality, not just in a technical sense, but also a reality as viable, commercially available services and products. So to put it simply, how to get the best concretely from all the great ideas and great motivation that we have in the zero debris community. And for that, we have asked experts to join us to present some of these opportunities in detail and to put them in perspective with entities that have benefited from these sources of funding in the past. So to start, we will have an eminent representative from the Space Safety Program, my dear colleague Tim Florer, the head of the Space Debris Office, who is also in charge of an interesting part of our program called the Competitiveness segment, that is here to help, let's say, entities with relatively mature products into commercial provision. It will be followed by a session on opportunities available at the European Innovation Council. And we are extremely glad to have with us Stella Chaktova, who is the leading expert at the EIC on this topic, project manager for systems, space systems and technology. Thank you very much, Stella, for being here. And Stella will be able to put in perspective the work, the great work that they have been doing through an exchange with Gonzalo Sanchez Arriaga, the co-founder of Per Se Space, who has been one of the beneficiaries of this great work done at the EIC. And finally, we will move back again to some of our activities at ESA with Kais Barmawi, one of our experts from the Commercialization Directorate, who will present all the tools, all the instruments available there, and again put into a concrete perspective with Stefan Frey, the co-founder of Vyoma, who will be able to give his clear and concrete feedback on this type of tools and how it contributed to some part to the great success that Vyoma is. So thank you all to be with us today. I'm really excited to hear all these explanations, and I'm sure this will be extremely useful for all those who are willing to transform their ideas into concrete realities. And now we'll hand back to Sasha for the rest of the program.
Thank you, Quentin, for that great introduction. So as you said, to begin with the program, I'm happy to introduce Tim Florer, head of ESA's Space Debris Office. So Tim will walk us through how ESA's Space Safety Program Competitiveness segment is helping to drive commercialization of high TRL solution. So Tim, over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sasha. Thanks very much, Quentin, for the nice introduction. Happy to see so many attendees in today's webinar. Absolutely excited, and also happy to see many familiar and in particular also many not familiar names. So I think this is very good to see. Let me share with you a few slides that we have prepared to guide you through the competitiveness segment of ESA's space safety program. I only need to bring them up. So you should see them in a second. There we go. All right. Good. Maybe very, very quickly, 2 words or 2 slides on the space safety program, or S2P as we abbreviated. You know, ESA loves abbreviations. And where does S2P come from? We are addressing in the space safety program the 3 major risks that our space-based infrastructure and also the services from space or are subject to. So hazards and threats, if you want to name them, and they come from the sun, from the space weather. They come from asteroids that may impact, and they come from space debris. What you see here is just 3 random press clippings from earlier this year, I think from a single week, if you look closely, and you see this is not remote and invented threats. This is things that are getting real, and they are affecting our modern lives much more than we would want to, and we need to be prepared. And as you all know, we need innovative technology, and we need services, application, and products to address those risks that we have. Space Safety Program has then accordingly 3 areas of programmatic goals that we want to see implemented by 2030. So this is what we committed to our member states who are funding the Space Safety Program. You see them listed here. This is warning against space weather events. That is having also a governing entity in place for space weather. This is for asteroids to be able to detect those and know where they are. That can be really risky. So 40 meters is a threshold that is commonly adopted for that. and be also able to deflect the really big things of 500 meters. And on the space debris side, it's about the zero debris approach. That's why we are here. That's what will be focusing on later in the talks here. But it's also addressing in-orbit servicing and also the environmental impacts that the space traffic brings to us. So now the big question for my talk will be a very simple one put here. How does this ESA space safety program support industry-driven innovation by accelerating the market entry? And how can this be used to give you access to ESA's expertise, the data, and also resources for verification, validation, evaluation of your ideas? Now, diving deeper into it, there are some conditions. Everything comes with some strings attached. And for participation in the competitive segment of the program, which is an optional program, the optional program means it's subject to subscription of ESA member states, and they are free to decide on the volume and on the focus where they want to put their contributions. And in return, they get activities for industry in these countries as per their subscription. So once this is done, so your country is participating in the space safety program, they can then support also the competitiveness segment. When the country is currently doing it, you see here in the left box in point 3 listed. But there's also a few conditions that you need to bring. The first one is you need to have a good idea that is credible. Okay, this is probably not so surprising, but you would also have to come with the business model. And we expect also that the technology has reached a TRL of 6. And then you must be happy to co-fund the activities to a certain amount. So ESA can cover for SMEs up to 80%. And well, I will point you later to the precise regulations. But this you have to keep in mind, there are 3 conditions. And then an evaluation follows, and I'll come to this in the next slide. But maybe to remind you and to wrap up what I said before on the goals on the space safety program. So what is actually possible in the competitiveness? So this is quite a lot. This is everything that is in the space safety program in ideas. So it's space weather, planetary defense, and space debris ideas that you want to mature. And then you get from this support in these very famous last mile efforts for getting this into the market. And ESA would act here as a partner, as we have it defined in ESA's commercialization policy. And partner means that we are a trial user, an early adopter, an evaluator of the services, so that we help you to reduce your business risk. So that everything there highlighted in yellow on the right-hand side is in essence what you need to take away from my talk. The rest is basically illustration. Now, I spoke already about this evaluation process and how this is going. So we have in ESA an element called call for proposals, and that we are using here. But in essence, it means 3 parties are involved. This is, of course, you, this is us, and it is the delegation of your country where your company is registered. So once you have a good idea, I would always recommend to reach out to your delegation and ask them about their feedback, whether they see this in scope, because they have to support this. But even when these discussions are still ongoing, you can already put this in our webpage. This is called OSIP platform in the form of an outline proposal. So it's very concise. Then based on that, and that's open at any time. And this, based on that, we can iterate with you, the technical experts on our side and on your side, the quality of the idea, and you will get immediate feedback. Once this is now supported, and when you have a letter of support, you can then submit the full proposal. We will be invited to do so. And this goes then in the classical ESA STAR procurement approach and direct negotiation. There is a board evaluation and then can be kicked off after that. And this can be rather fast. So we have experience and we have targets to do this in the course of 3 to 4 months. You see here the rough schedule in weeks, and in yellow what you have to do, and in blue what we have to do. And we have cases where this worked. Of course, negotiations are hard to plan. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, sometimes it's faster, but we are confident that this fast approach helps us here. Some more details you will find if you scan the QR code or use the address here, and I list here the evaluation criteria, but this is more for your reference for later on. These are 5 criteria, and you will not be surprised seeing there the business opportunity, the business case description very much on top, but also the technical quality of the proposal, and then costing and management criteria as is more classical. But okay, should not surprise you. Where are we standing today with this segment? So we have it for a few years now. We have now evaluated 16 ideas in these last 2 years. 15 of them have been positively past the first step. 10 of them have already kicked off. For 2 more, we are very close to kick off. 2 more are in tendering phase in the second stage. And yeah, we collected a few success stories that you see a bit unorganized because we are at the moment going through this feedback and trying to improve our processes. But I think these feedback quotes that I have here, quotes from these companies that have been selected, I think give you also a good idea of what we are talking about. So it addresses validation of new features, faster time to market, new markets opened, improving the quality and commercial readiness. We have won extra data delivery contracts and so on and so on. So quite encouraging that we think we are good here. I said already we are reevaluating and improving the process. What's coming up next? So we think it was quite successful. We are now proposing to extend this for the next 3 years, so 26 to 28. Decision for that will be taken in November this year. We will keep very much the direct iteration, which many companies express that they're very happy with that they can in a kind of low level, less formal negotiations already probe the idea with us. So this is, I think, a good story to share. We keep the tool, but we have new procurement elements in ESA that coming to be rolled out that will probably allow us to be even faster. So-called cooperative agreements, this is being discussed at the moment. And we have heard a lot of requests to go beyond the partner role to also allow the enabler role as per the commercialization policy. And enabler would be a bit lower TRL, would allow you as industry to access also ESA's expertise for maturing the idea as well. And this is under discussion. Well, and with this, I come already to the end. I included in my slides also a few more contact addresses of all the leads in the space safety program. When you want to discuss the technical or the business cases of your idea, you will see this is grouped by certain projects in space weather and the planetary defense, or by the heads of the relevant offices. And with this, I think I can conclude. And thanks for your attention. Back to Sasha.
Thank you very much, Tim. That was a very clear presentation. And next, we turn to the European Innovation Council and its funding tools for advancing zero debris innovation. Please welcome Stella Chakova, Program Manager at the EIC, and Gonzalo Sanchez Arriaga, Professor at Universidad Carlos III de Madrid and PSAE Space co-founder. Just a quick reminder, if you have questions during any presentation, feel free to type them into the Q&A box at any time. We will gather them for the Q&A session later. Stella, it's for you.
You see clearly my slides, Sasha?
Yes.
Good. So I'll be very quick because actually I would like that we share the time between me and Gonzalo. So first, thank you very much for the invitation. For me, it's an honor to be presenting our program and our activities on space debris. Here is just a short summary. What are the topics we will cover? So let me tell you about the role of the European Innovation Council. We fund high-risk, game-changing innovations from very low technology readiness to very high. So concepts, the program is organized in such a way that you have a bottom-up with Pathfinder Open and accelerator open opportunities, and top-down with topics defined by the program manager. Me, as the program manager for space systems and technologies, I have defined several topics, and last year we just closed the call for space debris mitigation, remediation, and in-space recycling. In between TRL 4 and TRL 6, we also have the transition program where Horizon projects can get funding. So on Pathfinder, if it's Pathfinder Open, you get 3 million. If it's under a challenge, you get 4 million. The same thing for the for Accelerator, it's 2 million and up to 10 million in equity. For transition projects, they're usually 2 million, but the transition program is closed only for projects from the Pathfinder or other Horizon calls. So let me tell you a little bit about our space portfolio. The three major pillars: space debris sustainability, enabling space technologies, and Earth observation. So now the focus will be on the space debris one. And as you can see on your right side in the bottom down there, you can see the E.T.Pack F project, which started as a Pathfinder one and matured now in transition, and actually they even created a spin-off. So these are the areas, as you see, very extremely diverse areas. We fund SMEs and startups. Of course, mid-caps and system integrators are very welcome to be partners of Pathfinder and transition projects, but not Accelerator one, which are for mono beneficiaries. So just a short example, how do the projects work under the space portfolio on space debris? Here are some examples. Most of the projects on space debris are actually under the Accelerator, TRL 6, TRL 9. And these projects, as you can see, they're already into little subcategories, but often they work together, they partner, and sometimes they also partner with projects from the enabling space technologies, which develop propulsion system, antenna, communication, actuators, and so on. We just closed the selection of the call, which was on Pathfinder in space solar energy harvesting. This is the roadmap of the technology challenges for the last 3 years. We had in 2013, we made a call for Pathfinder for in-space solar energy harvesting and customer-driven innovative space application. Last year, we had the call for strengthening the sustainability and resilience of the EU space infrastructure, mitigation, remediation, and in-space recycling or reuse of space debris as a potential resource. And we closed it now in February, but if there are projects which still want to apply on this topic, they can, because we still have the Pathfinder open call. So next year they can reapply, or projects, if you're still interested and you have ideas, you're very welcome to apply. It will be just 1 million less, it will be 3 million you'll get funding. And this year we have innovative in space services, robotics technologies for resilient space infrastructure. So the call was around these topics. I'm not going to go too much in detail. All debris sizes, all orbits, from cooperative, non-cooperative objects. I would like to thank the Space Safety Office for this excellent report on space environment, which I have regularly been using data. How are the projects going to work together? So the projects which are selected this year are 7 projects, and there is a balance of projects. There will be 2 projects under mitigation, 2 under remediation, and 2 under in-space recycling. They share a common complementarity, meaning that some projects are working on detecting, mapping, or avoiding debris. Others are working on detumbling or capturing the debris, and others are working on cutting or welding or processing the debris. Now, unfortunately, I checked internally, due to the ongoing grant preparation, I cannot share yet with you what are the exact topics of the projects, because there is a very technical and financial due diligence which is performed on the Commission side. But I can tell you some observations. There was a very high number of startups, SMEs and startups, 23, 24, which means this gives an indication that there is an emerging market in this domain, and a lot of them also have attracted some investment. So clearly this is a growing area. Very strong interest in the space debris mitigation. We received a lot of proposals looking at AI for SSA and so on. And we received a very high number, up to more than 10 proposals by mono-beneficiaries. Now, imagine, we had approximately 70 proposals and we funded 7. So you can imagine there is a very strong interest with a lot of complementarity of the European Commission, ISUS program and ESAM one. So what is this year? We have 50 million for innovative in-space servicing. It's the one in the red, and the deadline is the 1st of October. We need to spend this money, because if we don't spend it, they'll be spent on biotechnology, medical health. Space is competing all the time with other sectors. So as you can imagine, it's not easy. The reason I launched this call is because current satellites are designed not to be serviced, but there is issues, depletion of fuel, launch anomalies. We need to keep orbital slots, but also the call is about space-based resilience. As you know, there is signal spoofing, jamming, and by resilience, it's not only about SATCOM navigation, Earth observation, but also impact of space weather is one area which could be strongly relevant. Here is the call. As you can see, also proximity, rendezvousing, capturing, maintenance, assembly, orbital transfer vehicles, and space-based cybersecurity. So if you decide to apply, deadline 1st of October, here are the direct links. You can find information. Also, for the administrative issues, don't turn to me. I cannot help you. I'm only on the content side, but you can turn to your national contact points. I believe applications should be submitted 5 weeks before. And some final conclusions. A lot of bottom-up projects on space debris mitigation, a lot on AI and machine learning for debris characterization, every second proposal almost included. So it's really a growing, I would say there is a huge merger between the domains. A lot of interesting proposals on ADR for robotic arms, grippers, laser ablation technology, laser welding technology. So very, very interesting proposals with different capturing kits and so on. And very limited proposals for in-space recycling of space debris, unfortunately. And with this, I give, sorry for being so long, give the floor to Gonzalo, who is actually going to Professor Gonzalo Sanchez, who is one of the example lead projects in our portfolio. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stella. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it very well. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Stella. So thank you so much for this invitation. It's my pleasure to participate in this webinar on behalf of the E.T.Pack initiative. So we have been beneficiaries of 4 projects funded by the European Innovation Council. And of course, we're very happy to share with you our experience. Well, we work on a technology that is called electrodynamic tethers that are a long conductor in orbit that provide a propulsion force without using propellant. It's also technology that can be used to change any orbital parameters, so also eccentricity and inclination, and it is scalable because we can play with the tether length and width to prepare product according to the needs of the customer. As you will also see in this presentation, tethers can also be used to prepare autonomous systems because they work in a passive manner, and this simplifies things a lot. In this video, you can see how the system works. So this is our deorbit device installed in a satellite, but it can also be installed in upper stages of launchers. We deploy the tether along the local vertical, and then the tether interacts passively with the ambient plasma, generating a current, and the action of the magnetic field on the current gives a Lorentz force that decreases the altitude of the orbit little by little until the re-entry is produced and the satellite is eliminated. We're very, let's say we're very happy, or we are very lucky because our planet, it has a magnetic field and a plasma density that makes tether performance quite good. So here you can see, for instance, for a tether system with a 1.5 tether length at 50 degrees of inclination, it is able to deorbit 500 kilo from 800 kilometers of altitude in less than 3 months. So this is very promising, and for the reason we start working in 2019 to develop an autonomous deorbit device thanks to a Pathfinder project that the acronym was E.T.Pack. The project ran between 2019 and 2022, and it finished successfully with the delivery of the prototype. In 2021, in the middle of E.T.Pack, we were also granted with an EIC Launchpad project to develop a market analysis and to construct a business model for the deorbit device. So this was a project we carried out in collaboration with Euroconsult. And just after E.T.Pack finished in 2022, we continue working thanks to another project funded by the European Innovation Council, by E.T.Pack F, that is an EIC transition project that is now in the last year. And the goal of the project is to prepare a flight-ready deorbit device. But not only that, the EIC is focused on innovation. So we need to pay attention not only to develop technology, that of course is very important, but also to think about how we bring the result of the project into the market. And for that, team members of E.T.Pack F, we founded a company that is called Per Se Space in September 2023, with the goal of maturing and preparing product and commercializing tether products. In 2024, we were granted with the ESA BIG program that I think we're going to discuss about this later in the webinar. And in Q2 2026, so in 1 year, we're going to demonstrate in orbit the orbit device of E.T.Pack F, and the launch will be covered by the ESA Flight Ticket Initiative. To give you a few details about the deorbit device, it is a standalone system with a volume of 12 U and a mass of 20 kilo. It can host a tether of 430 meters, and it is equipped with a hollow cathode. It is made of 2 modules, the deployment mechanism module that you can see here, and the electron emitter module that is here. The tether is inside this module. And something that is very important is that the modules, they are independent, and they have capability for telemetry and telecommand. So the system has collision avoidance capability because we can turn on and off the cathode and switch on and off the Lorentz force. We have recently finished the qualification campaign of the engineering qualification model that passed through proof test pressure test, leakage test, tank design barns pressure test, functional coupling test, tether partial deployment test, vibration test, shock test, thermal vacuum, electromagnetic compatibility test, and we also characterize the magnetic dipole of the deorbit device. And we also carry out a hold downs and release mechanism test to check the separation of the 2 modules. At that moment, we realized that there was a small displacement of the tether, and we decided to increase the tether tension in the canister and to repeat the vibration test and the hold downs and release mechanism test that they were successful. And we finished the campaign by making a full tether deployment test that you can see here, the 430 meters of tape. And we also carry out partial tether deployment tests in thermal vacuum chamber. So the IOD will happen in Q2 2026 in a circular orbit of 550 kilometers of altitude and 49 degrees of inclination. In parallel with this project, as you can see here at the top, on this deorbit device, We also ran 2 projects on testers that you can see here. The first one was the ProVPT project funded by the European, by ESA, and the second one is ongoing. It's another Pathfinder project funded by the European Commission. And in this case, these 2 projects are focused on bringing tester technology to the next level and to prepare what is called a bare photovoltaic tester. That, as you can see, it is an electrodynamic tester that has thin film solar cell printed on the top. So in a single device, we can generate propellant-less propulsion, and we can generate power. This is my last slide. I would like to highlight here what is this, in my opinion, what is going to be the legacy of this project funded by the European Commission on testers. The first is, of course, the technology, the orbit device that you can see here. The second one, that is, in my opinion, as important as the technology, is that for the first time in Europe, we have a go-to-market vehicle. So we have a company focused on testers, and we have a strategy to bring this into the market. We know what are the customers. We know what will be the cost of developing a product. We know how much time we need to transform the result of E.T.Pack F into a product. And we even commercialize for the first time a service on testers to a large system integrator. But even more important, probably, that technology and the go-to-market strategy is that thanks to this project, we have a team and we have a set of partners for the first time in Europe with knowledge on electrodynamic testers. So we have a team of people that knows how to prepare cathode for electrodynamic tester system, deployment mechanism, avionics. They're expert on tester dynamic and control, etc. So for this reason, I think that the next step that we should follow is to stabilize tester development in Europe, to be sure that all this effort crystallize in product and solution for the space sector. So maybe it's a good time for ESA to have a program on propellant-less propulsion, covering not only tester but also the technologies. But this could provide stability to this line of development. And the second thing we have to do in the next months and years is to transform these results into products. And for that, if there are people attending the webinar, companies that need information about the technology and the performance, please contact us, because at this moment we are collecting requirements from potential customers in order to be sure that the product that we will prepare, they will be aligned with the needs of the sector. So thank you so much for your attention. I need to give the floor back to Sasha.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Stella and Gonzalo, for those valuable insights and the concrete example of from Versailles Space. We now move to our very final presentation, which will explore ESA's commercialization support tools, including the marketplace, the investor network, and the collaboration with the EIB. I'm pleased to welcome Kais Barmawi, commercialization and program management expert at ESA, along with Dr. Stefan Frey, co-founder of Vyoma, who will share their company's journey. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and also thank you once again for the opportunity. I see that we have a big crowd, so I'm very excited that a lot of people are interested in this initiative, because we at ESA, as already highlighted, see it as a really big priority for Europe. I'm going to share in a second my screen. 1 second. I need to very quickly restart Teams apparently to be able to share it. Give me a second, please. Sorry.
We can't hear you.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm back. This was some sort of a technical slight issue, but I'm here and now I'm sharing my screen. Should be able to see it.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So once again, thank you, everyone. So when it comes to this initiative, what can we do and what do we want to do within the commercialization directorate, which is a directorate that really focuses on pushing the competitiveness and the commercial opportunities in the sector. Of course, we see that there's, three main pillars. One is, of course, speed of the industry, because the global industry is moving at rapid pace, and we at Europe should not only that we shouldn't remain behind, but we should really be leading. And the zero debris space is a space where we see Europe being really a global leader that is, that can really pave the way. Capital is key to be able to allow companies to really to scale and grow, and this is why we're here today. And of course, having the talent to actually develop the technology. I want to show you this graph, and this graph demonstrates a way that we can kind of see companies' growth in terms of the TRL level, the technology readiness level, as you know, is a key indicator for our. Can you see my screen, or did it stop sharing?
You stopped. You stopped.
I see Stefan is sharing, and that's why.
Sorry,
Maybe.
I thought I can stage it already. My mistake. I unshared.
Yeah. Okay, here we go again. We highlight this. All right, once again, back to the presentation. So we really see the growth of companies within the concept of technology readiness level, because as you know, what we do at ESA is really support companies with developing their technology. So we at ESA have developed tools that can really support companies all from the ideation phase, where you just have a crazy idea, all the way to a space where your company is making more than 10 million euro a year. How does that work? Well, within the commercialization department, we have the so-called Business Incubation Center network, which a lot of you know, or the ESA BICS. It's a very, let's say, strong network that supports companies to grow in that phase. Then between let's say TRL 2, TRL 3 to TRL 7, 8, we have the R&D programs, which for example in this occasion Tim mentioned in the beginning, which is really to push companies to develop their technologies and support with funding and know-how. And then we have programs, which I'm going to highlight a bit afterwards, like the ESA Marketplace, that are designed to push and support companies really in their later growth phases, when they have to really accelerate their go-to-market. Yes, so as I said, incubation, ESA and market growth, and of course, the private investment is a key factor in the industry. We see that a lot of companies rely on private investors, venture capital, angel investors, etc. So we at ESA also have tools to support that with. Here, it's important to mention. I don't have necessarily too much time to speak about it because our time is short, but it's important to mention that we have an investor network which really supports to push capital into the industry. So if you're fundraising or if you're looking for debt financing opportunities, we have a close collaboration with also the European Investment Bank, with whom we're working on a new initiative for venture debt for commercial companies. Of course, your company needs to be a bit more mature. You could have already started revenue generating, but we're really looking to support companies that are looking for financing, either from private investors or from commercial financing vehicles like banks, etc. So really, if you have more questions related to this topic, don't hesitate to reach out, because it's really a long discussion. Sorry, and here we go to the next slide. Very quickly over these business incubation centers. If you don't know about them, you need to know that you can find basically a business incubation center almost across most ESA member states. The network was actually rated in the Financial Times as one of the top 10 Europe's leading startup hubs. So we have more than 1,800 startups that have been supported throughout the 20 years of the program. And we really see that a lot of our industry has started from the ESA Bigs. So if you're one of you is looking to actually start a company in the zero debris, ESA Big is a great opportunity to start. Again, if you really have interest in and want to know more, feel free again to reach out because today I really want to focus on the next program, which is what we call the ESA Marketplace. And this is also would be complemented by my colleague Stefan Frey from Vyoma. The ESA Marketplace, what is it and why I'm mentioning it? It's really a tool to support companies with their go-to-market strategy. This is important because this is more or less, let's say, one of the few programs that ESA that is designed to push companies in their and support them in their business acceleration, business growth, business development. Why it has this program been designed? Basically, once we see that once companies develop unique technology, like we know that a lot of our companies do, even though they have amazing technology, they're faced with global competition, which sometimes is very fierce. Also, where companies are faced with a risk-averse industry, if you don't have heritage, if let's say you are not a well-established space tech, even corporate, people are a bit reluctant to work with you because, as we know, our industry is quite risky. And of course, given these two factors and the ambition to growth, you need capital. So the global space industry is really fierce. The other major sectors across the world are funding really a lot of money to the sector. And European companies need to compete with really giants in the US and not only. And to do that, you need, of course, clients. But if the industry is a bit complicated and doesn't necessarily want to work with you, it gets even more complicated. And to grow, you need money. So this is basically the 3 pain points that this program addresses. The program is meant to basically support companies that already have a bit more mature technology. So you're already at TRL 7, 8, 9, you already have a product or service even on the market, but you're struggling with your early sales, you're struggling with your go-to market. You join the program, and the way we could support you is by helping you acquire new customers, which we believe is essential because customers are really the foundation of a successful, healthy company. We can also support you to get your products faster to market, which we're going to address very quickly afterwards. And last but not least, we really want to push European companies on the global market because we see space as not as a national, not even as a European, but the reality is, as you all know, it's a global market. So we need to make sure that the European companies in all domains, but specifically in, let's say, in the zero debris area are really, really out there and visible. How do we do that? We have this funding tool called ESA Marketplace. Very briefly, we can help you acquire new customers. So if you have a customer that is from an ESA member state or even a global customer, could be from the US, could be from Japan, and you have a unique technology, a unique product that your client would be interested in buying, and there's, let's say, a big scalability in it, in the project, we could co-fund part of your price so that we reduce the cost of, let's say, this customer acquisition. Another thing we could do very briefly is, okay, you have a unique product, but you really just need to demonstrate it, or you need to buy something, a small, let's say, subsystem that would enable you actually to go further and really start selling your product. We could also support you to do that and be first on the market when it comes to really disruptive technology, because as we know, speed is of the essence when it comes to high technology products and services. Yeah, basically, I think I'm gonna skip this part, and more what is important is we don't do technical development. This is really within the domain of the R&D programs, and we work with high TRL products and services. And now, last but not least, I want to pass the floor to my colleague Stefan Frey, who is the CEO of Vyoma. Vyoma was one of our companies that actually joined the ESA marketplace, one of the first companies, and we really love to hear from him and just share his experience also of how they grew and what other ESA tools also they used just to grow their company and where they are. Stefan, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, guys, and sorry again for raining into your parades. Thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, I hope you can see. Oh, we are two of us trying to bring up the presentation. All right, so I hope you can see my presentation. My personal journey with ESA actually started even before Vyoma. I was part of the team of Tim Florer, yeah, back as a national trainee. I think many careers within space actually started as such. But today I don't want to talk about myself. I want to talk about Vyoma, and in particular our journey within ESA itself. Just let me present a bit Vyoma first. What you can see here on the right is the rendering of our first satellite that we are launching at the end of this year for the purpose of observing the space environment. So this is Flamingo 1. It is a 100 kilogram, I would say 200 U satellite, basically to give you an idea of the size. And it is carrying a passive optical system with which we can map out the space traffic itself. I can confirm we are testing it right now, actually, the fully integrated flight model in Toulouse. And just yesterday, we got the message that we successfully passed the vibration tests. So we are on track to really launch end of this year. It will be the first one of the Flamingo constellation, which is really about bringing independent protection of critical space assets. So as you will see now already, we are basically in the space safety, space debris column of the space safety program itself. However, we're not only doing safety itself. I think it's also important maybe for the aspiring startups here. Space safety itself, yeah, you will be challenged whenever it comes to the business case. So make sure that you have a strong case itself. Potentially use some additional capabilities that you're having to address also another market. For us, this really means space surveillance itself. It's about European strategic independence, making sure that Europe has the capabilities of observing the space environment and reducing the dependence on the American partners. For us, it's not only about observations, we're also processing the data, we're also working in the space safety, but also the security side of things. It's really about real-time threat detection and ultimately the protection of satellites as well. But we have a larger vision than that. In fact, we are operating our own satellites. We're building up our own mission control room, including our own satellite operations software. And the goal ultimately is to actually have our satellites being navigated fully autonomously. Resilience here is an important topic, and I'm not just saying this. Our first satellite actually is already going to automatically implement collision avoidance maneuvers. In the beginning, there will be an operator in the loop, human operator, but eventually we are sure we can phase that one out as well. Yeah, I think space sustainability has always been in our DNA. It really, the idea of Vyoma itself came out of the need for better observations, better protections of satellites, ultimately really making sure that we can safeguard the space environment also for future generations of entrepreneurs. We want to be a sustainable operator ourselves, so we do responsible operations. Our flamingos, they do not release any kind of mission-related objects. We are doing collision avoidance, as I said, even fully automated. We're actually removing ourselves within 5 years after reaching end of life, and we are burning up at re-entry. So we really want to make sure that we follow the mitigation guidelines as much as possible, which is also dear to my own heart, coming from, given my background. But we're not only an operator, right? We're also a service provider, and our goal really is to build up a very complete catalog of space objects, and thereby protecting other satellites also from collisions. We want to go below 10-centimeter objects as well, because they can still be very dangerous when it comes to protecting satellites. But also very important, of course, is the high availability. You want to make sure that your system is ready when it's needed. We are going to achieve a very high revisit rate, because we're building up a space fence donut in space itself, and every time an object crosses through our donut itself, we can capture it, which in LEO is every 45 to 50 minutes. This high revisit rate ultimately also leads to a very high accuracy, and with which we can then better support satellite operators in actually not performing as many avoidance maneuvers as might be required if you have uncertain data, but really only telling them when to maneuver when it's really, really required. But coming to the journey within ESA itself now, we are a proud alumni of the Hessen Business Incubation Center. I think it's financially speaking, it's probably not a large boost for your company, but I think it's more about the network that you get access to. It's also about the quality stamp that you will actually be able to transmit towards the outside. So I do absolutely recommend to apply it for this. I don't think the overhead is very much for this, but the gain is actually quite considerable. We have been working multiple times with different smaller studies as well, especially in the beginning when we were much smaller. For example, we were doing some offset experiments as well, where it was about differential drag maneuvers. But we have also done some other studies where we also had some hardware in the loop. For example, the EISI studies, where we were doing onboards processing of images as well. So I can also recommend, especially in the beginning, to keep your eyes open on the OSIP platform. There are always different opportunities coming up at all ranges, I would say, from very small to also bigger GSTP and so on. Then, guys said it before, we were also part, or are still part of the Scale Up Invest marketplace, and this is now really where I think the bigger parts of funding or grants is coming in, basically, and this has been incredibly useful for us. In fact, we are not the vendor of the products here, but we are the customer of these two companies that you can see here. So we are getting launch support from Exolaunch for our first satellite, now being launched end of this year. And we were able to actually cover a considerable part of this through the Scale Up Invest marketplace itself. And even more dramatically, I would say that the second satellite that we're currently building that will be launched next year already, together with Aerospace Lab here, Belgium is actually covering a large part of the capex that is going into this satellite. So I think it's always very beneficial if you are able to cover capex with non-dilutive grants, such that you can then also show your investor that you're being mindful of not just wasting their money away without actually building up IP in the process itself. So I think the Scale Up Invest marketplace really has been crucial for our continued success. That's not it. We're also part of the competitive segment, so the S2P. Here we have been testing one of our service, or let's say raising the TRL level from one of our services from 6 to 9. This is really cool. We were able to mirror the ESA operations of some of their satellites and then compare it on how we would have done it with our collision avoidance maneuver recommendations, and then comparing them as well. So really about validation of services, I can really recommend this one. And then last but not least, we are now also part of the German ESA Business Accelerator. This is something that is very new. We're in the first batch here. As far as I understand, other countries in Europe don't have this yet, but I'm sure that if we can show that the ESA German business accelerator is successful, that this can also be mirrored in other countries. What is this about really? I think it's mainly about connecting companies that are at a similar stage in the acceleration, in the scaling up. Yeah, and the kind of discussions that we're having in this frame are actually really beneficial because many of us, of course, are facing the same problems and opportunities, and it's always good to talk to others and learn from others how they have been doing it. So I think this is the journey. I still want to end with another one actually. So it is great to get grants, but I think ongoing relationships are better and more important. Our ambition obviously is to win ESA as a customer for an ongoing project as well. And I can happily report there that we're seeing some encouraging signs from within the S2P in this direction as well. And now I'm giving back to Sasha. Thank you very much, and happy to receive questions.
So yes, thank you very much for this two presentation from Kais and for Vyoma from Stefan. Let's now move into the Q&A segment. We have already received a few questions. Thank you very much for all those who have already submitted your questions. And if you haven't done so yet, there is still time to send your questions. I will direct them to the appropriate speakers. So to start with, a very practical question from Dala Vedova. So without having the presentation of the slides after the webinar, I think so, but I will need to double check with the different speakers. If it's feasible and possible, I will put them on the Ineco page where you registered, and I will probably share a link afterwards after this webinar. Then it's a question for Stella. So why the EIC is open are still very much won by universities and not startups.
Mm-hmm.
Can you?
Yes, I can see. Don't worry.
Perfect. So yeah, the
okay.
question from it's a big question.
Yes. So I understand the question. So actually, here inside the house, I do understand that it is true that the universities are not very well known to be fast, but they are successful. There are often universities where they're incubators, but what we have now an initiative we have launched is called T2 Market Initiative. And the T2 Market Initiative is where already Pathfinder projects like the one which you saw, E.T.Pack, and there are many others, they apply to this initiative with a number of experts and their needs are mapped. So they have a discussion with these experts and their early needs. So it's clear that not always the creator of a startup, of a company, will be the professor or the researcher from the university. But a lot of the PhD students who work on these projects later on create create companies. So we have these T2 Market initiatives. We have a lot of which help the projects in Pathfinder identify already early needs and think about technology demos, how for the transition phase. But it is actually during the transition program that we move ahead. Okay? I think I answered this question.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Then we have another question for you, Stella. The one from Agnieszka.
Yes.
So identically, I will let you answer it.
It is slide 15. Let me just see what is slide 15. Yeah, it's slide. So slide 15 are the conclusions, but slide 14 is the one where you have all the links for the work program 2025 for Accelerator. Correct. It's the space challenge for Accelerator. The success rate is much higher when you apply for a challenge on a topic rather than in general, because you don't compete with other topics like agriculture, medical, health. It is only for the space goal. And this budget, that's why I'm saying you should definitely apply. It's for individual SMEs and startups. And then once you get selected, you enter the portfolio.
Yeah, until 3. Okay.
And once you enter the portfolio, but we also have an agreement with our colleagues from DG DEFIS for Fast Track, IOD, IOV, and Casini BAS. So basically, once you become part of the EIC space portfolio, you also have opportunities to work with other projects in between, also like Pathfinder projects and so on. Okay?
Thank you very much. I have received another question from Benjamin Guyot, sorry. Are Swiss companies eligible to the EU funding?
Yes, there are. Now we were told actually next week, first week of June, we will have the interviews for the accelerator, and we were told that they're eligible, they're in process. I don't know, they need to check with the national contact points. They have very good national contact points for space and the European Commission. I think I even have their name. They are the ones who can do it. But yes, and UK companies are eligible, but UK only receive grant.
Very well. Thank you very much for your answer. We have received another question from Aditya Baraskar. An outside EU, non-EU startup can apply for EIS. I think it's
the European Innovation Council.
Okay.
So the EU includes, so this is, if it's a cooperating state of the EU, they could apply. So it's only for all EU and cooperating states. Now, this is a very important aspect. So you have to check your country whether it's a cooperating state. If it's a cooperating state, yes, you can. But ask national contact points. I can tell you about the Space Co. I don't get into, it's a whole art, to know all these. It's not my core business. I prefer to talk about space debris rather than membership, political things. So I guess there are no more questions, right?
For now, yes. I don't see any more question in the Q&A question.
Yes, I see. No, I think everything is clear. Yeah, no more.
So if someone has a very last, final, or burning question, it's now or never. Let's wait a few seconds just in case.
But I just wanted to say one concluding remark. The good thing about the EIC is that we are very much complementary with these activities, meaning that I do see a lot of our companies which are in the accelerator, they're part a lot also of ESA programs like ESA Incubed, ESA Artes, ESA. So, and also, I see the hand of Gonzalo. Also, they're part of the ESA BIC, and maybe Gonzalo here can talk a little bit more about it. Gonzalo, you have a question.
I just have a final remark. The main message I would like to deliver in the webinar is that I think it was evident from the presentation that one of the values that the European Innovation Council add to the project is the stability. So before 2019, almost there was no hardware activities on testers. And from 2019 up to now, we have 2 consecutive projects, each of them in the order of several millions. And this provides the stability to, in 6 years, to increase the TRL and finish with an in-orbit demonstration. I think this is one of the powerful things of the EIC. That is a program that takes your hand and goes with you until you can deliver the technology. Now the next step obviously is going to the market, but we're also on that. But for the audience, I think this is interesting. From the roadmap that they have presented. Regarding the ISABIC, per se is incubated by ISABIC, and the program was also useful for us. There is a small grant of 50K, but even more important than the grant is the help that the ISABIC is providing to per se, for instance, on issues related with the in-orbit demonstration. They put us in touch with key people that is helping us, for instance, with legal issues, with interacting with the Spanish government to ask for the orbit and spectrum resource. So at the end, of course, we are very also happy to participate in ISABIC.
Thank you, Gonzalo.
Thank you very much for this additional explanation regarding ISABIC and for this being a bit more the journey of per se space. Since we haven't received any more questions, I will let Quentin Versperen maybe say a few last words. And if anyone of the speaker wants to say a few words after a word, yeah, Tim, go on.
Yes, maybe let's go with Tim first.
I can be very brief, and I wanted to echo what Stella just said, that don't be overwhelmed by the amount of instruments that are available. So we wanted to help you a bit today by using all those for the common goal of implementing zero debris. And yeah, from the ESA side, we can fully echo what was said, that while we focus a bit as technical agency on technology involvement, we also help you with your products and services and applications to get into the market. But then we also help you with the marketplace that was described. But then for venture capital and equity, there are probably better instruments also from the European investment side. And feel free to combine those. Nothing wrong about this. You just help today. Thanks. That's what I wanted to do. And thanks for attending.
So I would say that the team actually just stole my concluding remarks. I wanted indeed to emphasize that point. And that's how Sasha very intelligently built that webinar, which is to show that whatever step you're at with your project, with your idea, there are solutions somewhere in Europe to help you grow at that very specific step. And that, of course, because these are different actors, different communication channels, this is sometimes a bit hard to understand exactly how to navigate, who to reach at what step. So I truly hope that this webinar at least could give you a kind of general overview of all these various steps and various tools, so that for many of you, it will become let's say, easier to get used to tap into these resources and to be wonderful examples like PerSei or Vyoma. So once again, I will thank all the speakers for today's session. I'm convinced it was super useful. Also special thanks to Sasha, to Marine, who is also here, who worked a lot on this webinar. And this is only the second one. We hope to have many more webinars like this. And like this one, what we really want to do is to give you concrete tools. So short presentation, full of information, a lot of things to digest. So we'll also see indeed with the speakers if it's okay to share the presentations. I'm sure that will not be an issue. and so stay tuned for future webinars. And for many of you, I suppose, see you from the 10th to the 12th of June in ESOC for the Zero Debris Week. Seeing the list of attendees, I think we'll almost all be there, where we will be able to have more detailed discussions on all the aspects of Zero Debris. That could be funding, business development, that could be more the policy questions, that would be the very down-to-earth technology, what do we need to develop, what are the modeling tools we need, etc., etc. So we'll really have 3 super busy but very interesting, hopefully, days. And so I look forward to see you all in Darmstadt. And in the meantime, yes, have a nice weekend. It's quite nice here in Paris. I hope it's nice wherever you are in Europe.
Brussels, not so much.
Brussels is Brussels.
Yeah, I know. It's always cloudy. Always cloudy.
So good luck with with Brussels. And yes, so see you all very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you,
very much.
thank you, Sasha, for the excellent organization. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you to you, speakers. Thank you all the attendees, and see you for next webinar. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.